Alright guys, so we are inside the beautiful world of Blender 3D, and here we're going to be creating that amazing bottle of perfume which you saw in the intro. So yeah, without any further ado, let's start. So first of all, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be, first of all, let's delete everything, and then I'm going to create a cube. Oops, not a circle. I'm going to create a cube, and now I'm thinking, why did I delete the cube? I had a default cube and I just deleted it, and then I created a new cube. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, we're going to be shaping the bottle out. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the cube and I'm going to go into edit mode. Now you can obviously just select edit mode from here, but you can also press tab on your keyboard to go to edit mode. And I'm just going to go to the front view. Front view. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the top, and I'm just going to select select the top vertices, and I'm going to press S, and I'm going to increase the scale. Now one thing which you're going to notice is that only this side has been scaled up, and that's because we only had these two vertices selected. However, we want to select these two in the back as well. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this X-ray mode, and when you have the X-ray mode turned on, what you can do is that when you select it, you're going to see that the behind ones are also selected. So I'm just going to with all these selected, I'm just gonna scale them up slightly, something like that should be good. And I'm gonna select the bottom ones, and I'm gonna select the move tool, and I'm gonna move them up. Alternatively, what you could do is that you could press G to move, and you can move them in any direction you want. However, if you press Z now, you can it's gonna be constrained to Z axis only. So I'm just gonna scale it something like that. That should be I'm just gonna move it up something like that. So now is the time to save your project. Don't look at the stuff. This is my personal projects. I'm just gonna name it Perfume 2 because I have made this perfume once before as well when I was preparing for this tutorial. So once that is saved, I'm just gonna go back to object mode, and I'm gonna see that we have this perfume. Perfect. So one thing which I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tab back into edit mode, and I'm just gonna go to the side view, and I'm gonna select half of it, and I'm gonna move it slightly to this side. So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them. So let me just undo that. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to scale them down by pressing S, and I'm going to press Y to constrain it to Y axis, and I'm going to scale it down something like that because I don't want my perfume to be too thick. Yeah, no one likes thick perfumes. Anyways, so once that is done, I'm going to save my project, and I'm going to get out of my my X-ray mode. So once that is done, alright, so now you can see we have the basic general shape of our perfume ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tab into edit mode once again, and I'm just going to scale it down a little more. Oops, I forgot to go into X-ray mode. Just go there, S, Y, scale it down something like that should be good. Just go back to object mode and just get out of our X-ray mode. Anyways, so now we have our basic general shape ready. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bevel this. Now we basically have two ways to bevel anything. First of all, we can just go press tab and go to edit mode, and we can go to edge select mode by pressing this button right here. We can also alternatively press 2 on your keyboard. So once that is done, what you can do is that you can just press A to select all. I already have everything selected, but I'm just gonna deselect it, and I'm gonna press A, so you can see everything is selected. And now I can just press Control B, and now I can just bevel it. Now you're gonna see that this only has one segment, one like subdivision. But I can use my scroll wheel. I can scroll up to actually bevel this. Now the reason why I don't actually prefer this is because it's destructive. Okay, it's you can't really go back or modify this bevel. Okay, so I'm just gonna Control Z, undo that. So instead, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna be using the bevel modifier. Now I'm just gonna select this object. I'm gonna go to the modifier menu. I'm going to add a modifier, and you can see this bevel modifier right here. Now this obviously you can like modify and change later on, and or you can even remove it if you don't like. So yeah, that is something which I would recommend you to use. So these segments, I'm going to increase them to something like, I don't know, 10 maybe, because I want it to be a pretty smooth render. So you're going to see that we still have some segments visible, so I'm just going to right click it and shade smooth. Perfect. Now I think 0.1 should be good enough. We can obviously make changes to this later on. So yeah, now you're going to see that this shading on this side is slightly like, it's weird. It's acting a little weird, right? So what I'm going to do instead is that I'm just going to go to this what do you call it, object data properties, and I'm going to go down to the normals, and I'm going to press this auto smooth right here. Now you're going to see all the shading is going to be perfect. The reason for that is because Previously it was trying to smooth everything, basically everything, every single edge, right? So but we have now limited it to only smooth edges which are more than 30 degrees, okay, which are actually less than 30 degrees, my bad. So yeah, now it's only gonna bevel those, it's only gonna smooth those, okay. So that's gonna get rid of that weird shading. So now we have our general shape ready. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another mesh, which is going to be a cylinder. Now the cylinder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my top view. I'm going to scale it down. Something like that should be good. Let's go to my front view. I'm going to GZ, move it up. Something like that should be good. A little bit like that. Perfect. So this is going to be our top part. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. So right click, shade smooth. You're going to see that this has that exact same problem. So I'm just going to check auto smooth for this as well. And now you're going to see that this fixes it. And it's looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going to the modifier menu, and we're going to be adding another bevel modifier to this as well. So this much bevel is fine. I'm just going to increase the segments to 10 again. And I'm going to see that this looks pretty good. Perfect. So just save your project. And okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this cylinder. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate this. Now you're going to see that we can move it anywhere we want. However, I'm just going to right click on my keyboard to reset the position. So right now you're going to see that we have this cylinder and cylinder 001. So this is basically the duplicated version of this, okay? So I'm just going to press G and Z on my keyboard to move it up. And the reason why I pressed G was to move it, and the reason why I pressed Z was to lock it to Z axis. For example, if I just press G, G, you're gonna see that we can move it anywhere we want. But if I press Z, you're gonna see that it's gonna lock it to only the Z axis. Perfect. So I'm just gonna move it slightly up, and then I'm going to press S, and I'm gonna scale it down, something like that. Let's go to the top view and actually scale it up a little. Something like that should be good. I'm going to move it up. Perfect. Cool. So actually not perfect. I'm going to move it slightly up. Something like that should not be good. I'm just going to scale it up slightly. Yeah, I think that should be good. You can, and obviously this is just personal preference, and I would actually recommend you to not copy my design of a perfume. I would recommend you to come up with your own designs, because that's what's really gonna challenge you, and it's gonna improve your creativity a lot. So that is perfect. That seems to be good. Yeah, perfect. So one thing which I'm going to do is that now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be duplicating this once again. So I'm just going to press Shift D and right click again to actually reset the position. And you're going to see that we have the cylinder 002 as well. I'm just going to move it up. And before we actually place this, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to ask you to do one thing, and that is to name the objects, okay? So because these are getting pretty messy. So cylinder 001, cylinder 002, I'm just going to name them. So this is going to be bottle, I don't know, main body. I'm really terrible at naming stuff, but I don't know. This, now I have no idea what this is called. I have no idea. The upper thing, I don't know. You can just name it whatever you want. But I'm just going to name it that. This is the thing you push. I'm really terrible at naming stuff. So yeah, I'm just going to name it the thing you push, because why not? And this is going to be the cap. Cool. So I'm going to go to the front view, and I'm going to be moving it down. And let's actually scale it down as well. Something like that. So yeah, let's move it slightly down. Something like that. Let's scale it up. Something like that should be good. I'm just going to turn on X-ray mode so that I can see from the inside as well. And I'm just going to move it down slightly. How about something like that? How do I scale it down? Yeah, something like that should be good. Perfect. So right now you're going to see that this bevel modifier is doing something weird. Like if I go to my front view, you're going to see that this upper part is beveled more, and this lower part, the y-axis part, is beveled less. And the reason for that is because in Blender, whenever you change the scale of an object, you're going to see that if I go here and if I go into the item properties, you're going to see that the scale is all messed up. It should be 1 all the time, okay? So the way you fix that is by pressing Control A, and you're going to see that this is open. This is going to open the apply menu, and let's just apply all the transformations, and you're going to see that everything is going to be set to 1, 1, and these are going to be set to 0. The scale is going to be set to 1. and I'm going to see that our beveling is going to be very smooth and even. So that is what you want to do with everything. And I'm just going to reduce the scale, the amount. Something like that seems to be good. Right click, make sure that it's shaded smooth, and make sure that that auto smooth turn thing is turned on. Yep, it is. So our basic model is basically complete, and it was pretty easy, wasn't it? So after that, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be, actually one thing which I realized was that I've made this thing way too like, I don't know, way too thick. And we can obviously make tweaks to the bottle shape, the shape of the bottle later on when we are working on the textures and everything. So yeah, right now I think this should be good. One thing which I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale the bottle slightly down. I'm going to move it up. Something like that should be good and perfect.